Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Intel on AI. I am Ryan Carson, your host, and we are excited about this show today. We've got two guests right from Intel. We're building some really interesting tools internally that we want to dive into and explain how we do what we do here and hopefully share some knowledge. First of all, I'm joined by Boaz Efroni. Boaz leads AI for sales and marketing at Intel with over 29 years of experience in tech-focused business development and product management. He has launched over 25 products across diverse industries and holds a BS in electrical engineering and an MBA from universities in Israel. Boaz, good to have you here.
Happy to be here, Ryan.
Good to have you here. And our second guest is none other than Barbara Roos. Barbara is Intel's Director of Program and Change Management, driving mergers, acquisitions, and digital transformation for the sales and marketing group. With a background spanning Fortune 100 companies, agencies, and startups, she holds a BS in journalism and communications from the U of O. Barbara, good to have you here.
Thanks for having us.
All right. So every company is trying to figure out how to be an AI company now. So everybody wants to build tools. They need to build tools. They're trying to get their heads around it. And there's kind of this first big question of, do we go with a generalized tool? Or do we go with a specialized tool? Boaz, what's your thought on that?
It's a great question. And I think the answer is both. It depends on the usage case. In our case, we wanted to bring something for the community of Intel employees that they can safely and securely ask questions about anything that they need for the work rather than going outside. So for that purpose, we built a general purpose. We brought it in and we built something generic for everybody. We call it IGPT. On the other side, we have very specific needs in sales or in marketing. And for that purpose, we build a very, very unique solutions that address that pain point and provide the right value for these specific verticals.
Got it. So Barbara, how do you pick though, if we're going to do a specialized tool, when you look at a huge organization like Intel, how do you choose? Okay, which area should we build a specialized AI tool for?
I mean, some of the things we look at are, where do we have an opportunity to make a lot of employees more efficient, more productive, save a lot of time, or where can we save a lot of money? Or generate more revenue. So you're kind of looking at the scale of potential impact. And then, as Boaz was alluding to, looking at, what is the specific nature of what it is you need to do. So if you're looking for something kind of general purpose, like I'd like some help brainstorming or crafting an email, you can use a pretty general purpose tool for that. My team does a ton of that kind of stuff. If you're looking to, analyze unique patterns and trends among highly complex proprietary internal data, then you're probably going to want to build something more custom because you need it to do that special function that you're mimicking something that people had to do before and getting a computer to help do that more efficiently.
Yep. So how should companies think about identifying those things, right? So you said, all right, we want to save a lot of time or money on a certain process. But what's a practical exercise they could do to try to figure out where those verticals might be inside the company?
Well, I'll tell you, it's an interesting question, and I'll tell you just a story that we're doing in here. We have our own teams that are, some of them are a lot of people are from the sales organization, for example, and we sit down and discuss about pain points and usage cases. And then what we do, we take it out into the field, into the people themselves, do interviews, run those usage cases to understand which one really resonates with different type of sellers or different type of customer categories. And through that, we not only learn about if the usage case makes sense and then bring value, but also we uncover new ideas and new pain points that they might use. And then we bring it back to the team to evaluate if that's the right AI type of project, or this is something that can be solved in a different way.
Got it.
So it's an iterative, constantly ongoing research that we do with the people as we release new projects out.
Got it. That makes sense. So I know that one of the more generalized tools that we have is IGPT inside of Intel. And I remember when I first joined Intel, because I'm newer, I remember thinking, wow, we basically built a ChatGPT clone internally. That sounds really hard. So Boaz, why don't you talk a little bit about, why did we have to do that? Number one, was it because of privacy reasons or secrecy reasons, and how hard was it to actually build that?
It's a good question in the sense of when we started, what was out there was the foundational models, the large language model themselves. There was no off-the-shelf chatbot capability, and everything was outside. We wanted to bring that capability, that amazing capability inside to Intel. So we had to take that and generate something around that mimics the chat capability and add more and more functionality as we go along to address the need of our sellers, of our employees. As Barbara mentioned, there's a lot of stuff that we want to do to run marketing campaigns, marketing ideas, and run that internally. So by doing that, we are keeping the information very secure. We're running just the LLM externally on a very secure Microsoft Azure platform, and everything else is completely legally approved all the way up to top security. So that enables us to live on both worlds, providing that capability internally while allowing our employees to ask the question freely without being concerned about the information.
Absolutely makes sense. So we talked a little about generalized solutions. If you have data that you absolutely cannot send out to the public cloud, it makes a lot of sense to build a private generalized solution. But there's a lot of exciting specialized solutions we've built as well. What's one of the interesting specialized solutions that we've built internally?
It's interesting that you asked that. Intel has been doing that for several years already, and we do it on both aspects. Both on the engineering side, there's a lot of development done to enable AI-based solution to improve anything from coding to chip design to bug tracking and so forth. In the sales organization, we keep looking into how to expand the efficiency and productivity of our sellers and our teams. So over there, for example, we build a solution called the virtual technical assistance, which takes thousands of documents in a RAG-based environment, dissect them, sparse them, embed them, and then using those vectors to identify the information. All of that is running internally on Intel own proprietary systems. And then once the seller is asking a technical question for his customer, that question being then, together with the matching vectors, retrieved vectors, being sent out to that secure location of LLM only to summarize the information. So we're not using the LLM, we're not hallucinating. That's a perfect solution where we combine both worlds and provide that very specially unique. The advantage here, we can put documents that are not public, documents that was just released, customers who are engaged in designing right now with our products, and these are proprietary, very, very confidential information that we cannot put out there.
Right. So Barbara,
and this is
no, it's okay. Sorry. So I know that you have measured, how well this is working for us, and you have some interesting insights on how well VITA is working for us. What have you found?
Yeah, it's been really profound for our sellers. We have over 1,000 sellers that are using it, and they've told us that it can save them anywhere from 20 minutes to even days of tracking down information. You have a company the size of Intel with tens of thousands of employees and so much technical depth of knowledge. Sometimes even figuring out who to ask a question of can be challenging, right? We co-design many products with our partners in the industry. These are really deep technical collaborations. And so when you're looking for, some deeply obscure technical piece of information, to have to kind of navigate corporate wide and figure out the right person to go to that for can be complex. VITA can scan thousands of documents and in seconds come back to you with the information, and it can tell you, okay, you're looking to share this with this customer. That customer needs to have this type of NDA in place. They have to know this type of information to have this shared with them. So it really helps the seller save a lot of time, both in finding the answer and figuring out what's appropriate to share with different types of customers, and then giving them the source material that the answer came from so they can validate, oh yeah, okay, I agree with that, and this is customer ready.
Right. Yeah, it's It's amazing how much time is lost just trying to find the right person to ask the question to. So I love how you pointed that out. And especially when you come to an organization, you're new, you just don't know who to ask. So I can see how that would be a huge advantage. So Boaz, I want to go techie a little bit with you. And I'm curious, you've got your vector database, you've got your large language model choice, and you've got your evaluations, you've got your chunking methodology. There's a lot of pieces, and the tech is changing so fast. For instance, we just saw a new version of Haiku come out of Anthropic, right? So we have LLMs changing, it feels like every week. So how can companies keep on top of this and choose the right vector database or the right large language model, the right evaluation methodology? How do you do all that and keep on top of it?
I think there's an important key here. It's not just the companies being on top of the latest and greatest. It's how to provide this information or that capability into their employees. And what I found is that in the brainstorm in the past year, there was a brainstorm of new applications and development, both internal and external, of new things, and each one was a standalone, and you had to go to one place to do task A and another site to task B and C, and if you remember after a week, then you're good. So I believe in the change of having a centralized environment that can provide the right pipeline behind the scene. And that's where the answer your question. Once you have that behind the scene, the engineering team and the developers can continuously update and improve. RAG is an evolving, amazing environment by itself, that it started with a simple Q&A and now it's evolving to a full conversational, understanding the question and understanding where to track it and retrieve that. And that's happening in the background, and the engineering teams are constantly on reading the articles and the information and being able to evolve that. If a new company comes along, we can hook up the API behind the scene into this centralized environment where the users coming and can have that one interface to approach it all.
So Barbara, let's talk about training for a minute. So if a company invests in building, for instance, a really great RAG tool, it is providing answers faster, at higher quality. Often you can have employees that either don't know how to use it, or maybe shy about AI, or maybe don't trust it. So how do you roll out training once you've built a great AI tool to actually see adoption?
Yeah, I think you have to look at it kind of holistically. So we tend to, when we're looking at change, because it's all about change, right? This is, new ways of doing things, new ways of thinking. So we start by trying to understand who are the groups of audiences that you might have that would be looking to use these tools. Where are they coming from? What are their challenges, their pain points? How might this new tool or capability help them? And how do you position it in that context? And then how do you give them the knowledge and the skills to be successful in adopting it? So sometimes it's as simple as, just communicating some information. Now this thing is available. You've all been waiting for it. Go ahead and use it. Sometimes it's more nuanced, right? You might have people who are resistant to that change, who are comfortable with their old ways of doing things, who don't want to adopt new practices. And so there you need to bring some more resistance management to play. You might identify early adopters that are trusted, peers, establish sort of change champions who help go out and speak with people and show, here's what happens when you put this in practice and the benefit you get from it. So it just, you have to look holistically about who is it impacting and where are they coming from, and then shape a plan from there.
Love it. Yeah. So I imagine if you're rolling this out in the sales organization, like you said, those champions could be showing someone that, wow, they hit their quota because they use this tool, and everyone will think, okay, I'm going to do that. So yeah. I love that. So I know that we actually have measured how many users, how many questions, how much are these things being actually being used? Tell us a little bit about the numbers behind VITA and what's happening there.
Boaz, do you want to speak to the latest number? Yeah, thanks.
Sure. Yeah, the latest number is actually, we released it in Q2. So up to now, we have about 1,200 users that have been using it with over 15,000 questions.
Wow.
And if you calculate what Barbara mentioned earlier, through interviews, we understand the average is about two hours of saving. I was sitting in a training where one of the sellers sat down and said, "Hey, I was double dipping here, and I was answering a customer question in real time." He said, I asked the question, Vita, boom, he get me the answer. And like, you just saved me a whole day of work, of chasing and going. Barbara mentioned that too. Some of the technical teams, our technical teams, are in a different region. And then that's what takes multiple days. So if you calculate about 2 hour total of saving average between everybody, you're looking at about 30,000 hours just by these two quarters. And we're just starting. We just launched additional BU. We're adding more capability. And going back to some of your question, the internal development, the specialization enable us to connect to multiple systems and bring the best of all systems into the user, where other external companies that provide the solution don't have that access. So that's one of our consideration when we're looking at that as well.
I know that we've also started to build around tooling around CRM specifically. Barbara, how is that going? What kind of things are we doing there?
Yeah, so we're doing things, some off the shelf things like Salesforce has the Einstein capability where it helps kind of assess upcoming opportunities that you have in your sales pipeline and tell you how likely those are to close favorably. And it's looking at a variety of data and patterns from your own history. So that can be a helpful indicator. It's not perfect, but it's a useful tool for leaders to kind of be able to see holistically how is the pipeline looking. And then we've also built capabilities to help save sellers time in kind of synthesizing and summarizing what's going on with their accounts and their opportunities. They spend a lot of time just trying to communicate to other members of their team, up to their management, senior leaders, and everybody wants to know slightly different things, right? And so we built this account pulse capability that combs through all of their Salesforce data and writes up a summary that the seller can then tweak and edit and tailor for whoever they're trying to reach. But that saves a ton of time because they get asked for these types of summaries daily sometimes.
Yep. Wow. Yeah, I imagine that just having sales calls recorded, then getting transcripts and getting summaries, some of these kind of AI 101 things now, and then making sure that gets into the CRM system is going to be a huge bonus for revenue teams. So Boaz, let's...
Ryan, I'd like to say, you're touching a good point. But sure, yeah. No, you're touching a very good point that we see as the number one, especially in AI program, is the data. So both that capability that Barbara just mentioned, suddenly the seller can see the advantage of putting data inside the CRM. That's the snowball we're trying to create. We want to show them the benefit of putting the data and having that data in there because data is king for AI, any AI program.
Amen. So if companies want to get started and they want to start building some basic AI tooling for internal use, Boaz, what type of employees do they need to assign to that project, or who do they need to hire, or how big is that team? What's kind of the smallest team possible that a company could move forward in building internal tools?
It's a great question, and the reason I'm saying it because what we do internally at Intel, we developed a certification inside Intel that called AI from idea to production, and we found out that a lot of people have great ideas, but in order to AI to be successful, it has to go through a few very, very specific iterations and information that has to be there. If you look at the industry, 85% of AI projects fail because of that. And the number one reason, I think, and I heard an amazing quote, which is, I think it encompassed the whole thing. You need to fall in love with the problem, not with the solution. Yes. And a lot of people see this, I can do this cool thing with GPT. Now, okay, what's the usage case I can use it for? Rather than, we have a problem, let's try to solve it, see if AI is the right fit for that. So the whole flow of doing that business justification, pain point understanding, ROI calculation. Like, would you develop a whole AI project for something that 2 people are using once a month for 2 hours? As cool as it sounds, that's not worth it. So that's the important thing. And that's having somebody that have some AI background, can ask the right question and understand how the technology works underneath to provide the feedback back to the developers who develop this and say, hey, look, my customer just put this question in VITA and it doesn't work correctly. And I did my own analysis and this is what's going on. And then I can go in and dive deeper with them and into the discussion and uncover where the problem might be. So having that program manager that takes everything from end to end, from the idea, the ROI, the calculation, there's a POC. You can take a POC, show it to the users, get feedback, improve that, do a pilot, 20, 30, 50, 200 users, run the pilot, uncover the problems, get those problems, see which one are showstopper, go to production, and then you continue to do that. Now, before production, that's where there's additional work that people don't understand, but you need to build the awareness. You need the training to train people how to use it. Usually it's an MVP. It's not a full-blown system that you bring in first time. So you have to make sure you have the right training and communication teams in place to help you in get the word out there and do the right training to the people so they use it correctly. Otherwise, they come in, they use it incorrectly, not to the designated task, and they say, okay, it's not working, and you lost them.
Yep.
So it's very, very important to have all of these disciplines along the line and a very good, of course, AI development team and scientists and machine learning to make sure you have the high quality product. And one last thing, KPIs. You have to set the right KPIs. What is a successful solution for you? Is it number of users, number of hours, millions of dollars, and then track that.
Yep.
So be honest, track that, and don't be afraid to ZBB something that you see that's not going and doesn't have the right impact.
Yep, absolutely. Know your target. So speaking of, Barbara, I know we've talked a little bit about challenges. What didn't go right? What did we learn? What are a couple of things that we could pass on to our listeners?
I mean, I think the reality is these systems are only as good as the underlying data that they're built upon. And so, we've experienced those challenges in a couple of different ways. One is, Boaz referenced hallucination earlier. You can have a system that either hallucinates and makes up answers because it is piecing together a bunch of stuff into a Frankenstein answer that's not really real, or it can take things out of context. And so I really do think having humans look at the output and apply some judgment before moving forward with what the AI is telling you is really critical. The other thing is, overcoming some of the, behavioral inertia or resistance. So, for example, in our CRM, we can only build AI capabilities if there's robust data in the system. So if you have sellers who don't really want to take the time to record all the meetings they had with a customer, then it's really hard for you to use AI to show these types of meetings have these kinds of impacts on your sales outcomes. And so convincing people to spend the time to put the data in so that then you can build those really cool AI tools is really important.
Absolutely. One challenge that I find is that the perfect RAG system for a company would be the one where all of your data was in it. For instance, every meeting you were in was recorded. So that you could actually have notes of everything. You could see what was going on. You could query that RAG. But I know that humans are not fast to be recorded on every meeting. So where do you think this will go as far as creating a brain inside the company for the enterprise? Will we get there? Or do you think humans will always be a little bit resistant to all of their data being absorbed by a RAG solution? Boaz, what are your thoughts? And then Barbara, I'd like to hear you.
I think it's just like any other solution that were out there. I remember when I started working in the industry in GPS location, our cool app was, hey, I can drive by a store and it can just send me a message about the discount that store had. the industry went crazy that the system would know where I am at any given time to send me those notifications. It was a big pushback from the whole world. Were like, no way, I'm not doing that. look where we are today. Like they know everywhere I'm at the house, they already know what's going on there. So it's really a change in the mindset. It will come. It just takes time to do that, and I'm sure that it will be. So it's something that we'll see evolving, just like with the internet. We did the search. It took us time to learn how to search. I remember myself helping my mom do searches because you need to know what the flow of searching. Today, you need to know how to write the prompt in a manner that gives you the best impact. So that's a mindset that's happening, and we will see the change moving forward.
Absolutely. And Barbara, I want to go to you in a second, but I have a quick thought on that. I think as well, people are going to learn that just because you're speaking to an AI doesn't mean all of your data is public, right? We're moving to a world now where you can have inference done right on a device, disconnected from the internet, and have it be completely private to you. And I imagine folks, once they really start to understand that, will be even more excited about augmenting themselves with AI. So, Barbara, do you think all of us humans are going to be eventually used to letting the AI know what's going on in our meetings?
I think we will. And I think that the people in the companies who aren't embracing it are doing so from a place of luxury right now. If you face real meaningful competition, if you face real meaningful challenges in your day-to-day work, you have to be constantly innovating. You have to be seizing every tool and resource available to you to be as efficient and effective as possible. And so if you aren't having to do that today, congratulations. That's awesome for you. Somebody's going to come and eat your lunch soon, and you better be ready for it because this is the future.
Absolutely. And I think all the folks listening to this show that are on the executive side of things are quickly realizing that they've got to embrace AI to keep up. Every company is shipping faster solutions, smarter solutions now, and probably a lot of customers will actually prefer to interact with AIs in the future. So we've got to get there. Well, it's been fun to learn about what we're doing internally at Intel. It's exciting to hear about what's working, where the challenge has been, how are we trying things, and how's it actually working. I appreciate you both spending some of your valuable time with me. Where can folks go to learn a little bit more about what Intel is doing with AI, Barbara?
Simple URL, intel.com/AI.
That's pretty straightforward. Well, thank you both for your time. And thank you for pushing hard internally to innovate and bring all these exciting things to us. And hopefully all of our listeners will be encouraged to try innovating in their companies as well. So thanks, everybody. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks, all.
Thanks, Ryan. We look forward to hear more about new applications. So if you have some out there, reach out.
Perfect.
Thank you, everybody.
See ya.
Visit intel.com/AI to learn more.